Hi, this is an example of how I go about preparing to paint a still life in my studio. As I said, I like to try and paint every day or every second day, and I don't always have time to paint from life. So what I do is I will set up a still life such as this, and then what I go and do is I will photograph it. I'll import it into Photoshop and work on the photograph to get it as close to the painting that I want to paint. So this is what I've done. I've opened up a page in Photoshop, I've imported the photograph, and now what I'll do is I'll look at the different effects that I can get, and then when I'm happy with that effect, I will save it. So the first step is I make a duplicate of this page. So if I do something wrong, I've always got the original. I just right click and make a duplicate layer. Once that duplicate layer is done, I will switch off the original layer so that I'm only working on the one layer. So now we look at this, and I'll go to image, I'll just go to artistic, filter artistic, and let's look how this would look if I had to apply a palette knife to it. And so here it goes. There's a butt, and that's the palette knife effect, so it's like an oil painting effect. I want to do this with a palette knife, so I might increase the stroke detail and the stroke size, and then I'll say OK. This will let's apply the palette knife now and see that's what it looks like. Do I like that? So normally I will go in and see, okay, it's not got too much detail. I quite like that. I'll try various. Okay, so I'll try another version here. See what that looks like. And you've got a filter, artistic, no artistic. I will maybe now look at the dry brush effect. See what the dry brush looks like. And that's also quite nice. So this will just give me an idea of how I'll paint. I will then make a black-white of this, and I will transfer it to my canvas. What's great about Photoshop, you can get immediately an idea, or you can work on the photograph and say, okay, this is the effect I want, and you can work towards that. So let's just blow this up to give you an idea of the dry brush. I like the dry brush look, and this is probably what I'm going to work on. I'm just going to pause for a minute here so that I can leave the next about set. Okay, so I now like the look of the dry brush. So the other thing I want to do is I want to see, well, how would it look if we want to in black and white. So I'll just go down here and use a graphic pen and convert it to black and white. Let's see if we like that. Light dark balance, we'll make that. Stroke length, I don't want it too long. I just want to have an idea of what it will look like in black and white. Maybe I don't like that. Maybe I like that charcoal. No, that's not what I'm. Since I used to charcoal, photocopy. No, that's not it. Let's see. Eventually, I'll find something that I like. Contact crayon. Okay, that might be it. Let's look at that. Okay, so is that I'm looking out for the tones now to see how that will paint. I don't like that, so I will change that. So what I've done is I've gone back to the graphic pen, and I've increased the stroke length, and I've made it darker. So I think that will work all right. We'll just look at it. Okay, you see there, yeah, I can work from that, and that gives me a good idea of where the light and the dark and how the tonality will work. So that's one step. So once I'm happy with that step, what I'll do is I will turn this into a sketch. Get everything ready and show you how to go about turning this into a sketch. So to turn this into a sketch now, what I've done is I've duplicated the layer, and then I go to image adjustments here. Image adjustments, I'll work up my panel here, and I just press black and white, turns to black and white. Then what you do is you select infrared. You know, if you don't have Photoshop, you should really consider buying it. It's a great tool to help you with your painting. So after this, what I do is I go to filter, and I go to blur. I look for smart blur, and what I do is I increase the radius and the threshold, and in the dialog box here I move everything up to about 35, and I say okay, and that will have a filter there. And then I forgot to do one thing here, so I have to redo that. So you go here, you go blur, right, and you look for smart blur. You go to the radius 35, about 35, quality. You put, I would say, yeah, you would select high, and then I want to get the edge only. Okay, so let's see what that does. Okay. So we have now the smart blur filter, and what we want to do now is we want to go to image and click the adjustments and invert the layer. Let's see if I can make that. So I'm working in smart filters here. This just went over to smart filters. So, it doesn't matter, smart filters are good. Okay, so yeah, I've inverted the layer, and we have our black and white thing that I can sketch. Now the next step here would then be to make a grid of this, and to then transfer it to an oil canvas, which I will show you in the next step. So I will then go into the drawing here, and I will highlight the large areas, so that when I transfer the drawing, I can see where I am. This is just very rough. I'm really just interested in having something to work with, so that I can start painting when I'm ready to paint, and start doing it immediately. Okay, so then I just put outline places here, so to remind me where the main anchor points are, where my main highlights go, because when you print this to canvas, you lose a lot of the detail. So there's an orange here, and I want to do this this painting, the still life, with like thick old brushes and thick paint, and use a palette knife if I have to. I actually like working with a palette knife. I like putting thick paint on canvas. It's a really nice, gives a really nice effect. Okay, so here I think I might have problems here with the teapot perspective. And what I do normally is I will export this into Illustrator, and in Illustrator I'll put on guidelines, and then I'll print. So I'm happy with this now. This is there you go. So now when I'm ready to paint again, I've got something to work with. In the meantime, I'm sure the old flower, the old tulip there will go off, and it will wilt, but at least I have a record of what I want. And then I just like to emphasize here dark in my period dark. Boom. There you go. Thanks, and watch for the second portion of this. I'll upload this to my blog today still if I can.